What's up, guys? I'm going to show you some of the best options you can get from a fully functioning pedal board for around $100.
So for my first pedal board, I'm going to show off the Monoprice Tube Screamer clone, the Donner Yellow Fall Analog Delay, and the Ammoon Looper. These three together cost right around $100 depending on what you can find on Amazon and eBay, but I'm talking brand new shipped prices.
For all these demos, I'm using my budget Fender Squier Mustang HH bullet guitar. I bought this used for around $90 just to show that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get some great tones. Now this first pedal board I am calling the multi-tool board because what we've got going on here is you can get a wider range of tones and utility out of just a handful of pedals. So let's hear some sounds. For my first sound, I'm going to play just clean. I'm in drop D tuning and I'm now on the bridge pickup. So here is the Tube Screamer Overdrive on its own into the clean amp. What's great about that particular overdrive is it actually has a wide range of dynamics. It can get that crunch tone, that AC/DC style Marshall crunch tone. You can crank up the gain. Right now the gain is about 4. I'm going to turn it up to 10 so you can hear kind of the ripping lead sound that you can get out of it with a lot of gain. So it's a really nice overall almost distortion sound that sounds really good, also good on leads. So what I'm going to do now is back the gain back to about 2 or 3 and it'll give it kind of a bluesy sound. This can actually also act as a clean boost with edge, which sounds really great. If you have a practice amp or small amp that has distortion, you can use it to add some edge to a tone. So what I'm going to do is switch over to the lead channel on my amp, which sounds like this. On its own it sounds pretty good, but this particular amp, my Roland Cube, I wasn't getting quite enough pick, attack, and definition, but using this Tube Screamer pedal as more of a light boost, I can get that edge back. So here's without it again. So here's that pedal used as a clean boost in front of the amp. Next, I'm going to show you the Donner Analog Delay, the yellow fall pedal. This ships for $32. It's a great addition to any pedal board. Sounds clean, doesn't color your tone too much or add too much noise. Here's the clean channel with that delay. And that's with all the knobs at about 6. You can crank up the time and the repeats and get a really nice wash. Now everything's at about 7. You can hear those repeats kind of going on. What I also can do is use my volume knob to kind of swell in some noises. This is great for ambient, worship, whatever style you might want to use this for. Now by using that same overdrive pedal set at a light boost, you can really enhance that same sound. Really nice tone, and between what you can do with these two pedals and potentially the distortion sound that's already built into your amp, you now have a huge range of tones from a variety of different rigs. Now let's talk about the looper. This particular Ammoon looper sells for about $38 new shipped. The only downside I've found to this particular looper is that for making short loops, catching the timing exactly on this particular pedal, because it has a slight delay, can be very challenging. So what I recommend is recording a whole riff and then practicing over it. As a practice tool, this is tremendously useful. Again, if you don't have a use for a looper, you could swap this pedal out and you could still keep your budget under $100. So what I'll show for my next pedal board is a different combination of pedals that I feel like is another great bang for the buck. Again, this was the multi-tool board with the tube screamer, analog delay, looper.
For this second variation of the $100 pedal board, what I have here is a Boss SD1, the Monoprice tube screamer, and the Donner Yellowfall analog delay. The thought here is that by having dual overdrives, this gives you a lot of different gain variations that you can get a variety of tones out of a totally clean amp.
So what I've got here is my second variation of the pedal board that's $100, and this includes a Boss SD1. Now, a brand new Boss SD1 is $60 on most sites. However, you can get one used, so I think it still qualifies. However, you could easily swap this out for another drive pedal. There's tons of affordable options from companies such as Donner, Caline, it looks like it's spelled Caline, Mooer, Joyo, and plenty of others. Just watch some YouTube reviews on a particular pedal before you buy it so you know what you're getting into, but there's a ton of stuff out there for the sub $40 and $30 that'll do very similar effects. But my thought here is that I have my clean sound, I have a very light edgy boost from the Monoprice tube screamer, and I'm running the SD1 now with everything on 5, and what it's going to do is make an even better, more defined distortion or lead sound that's pretty dang good. So just the Boss SD1 on its own. And you can even crank the gain up on this if you want a little more crunch. I'm also turning up the tone slightly because I like a little bit of edge to my sound. Am I turning on the other tube screamer pedal? You can also set up this order in reverse. So having the heavier drive on the other pedal and having more of a light boost. In this case, I'm going to flip my gain settings. So having a low gain on the SD1, high gain on the Monoprice. Because I'm running low gain on the SD1, I'm also going to compensate with volume because I'm basically turning the drive off on the SD1. Now we should have a different version of that same sound that is a great overdrive, distortion, crunch lead sound. And I think that sounds pretty good. Both of these pedals can function either way. Just find what works for you. There's plenty of other options out there that do very similar things. These just happen to be what I got on sale and cheap. So now, taking that same sound and clicking on that delay that I had earlier with a lot of repeats, swelling in some volume, and then playing a couple leads. Hear those awesome analog repeats? Love that sound. Plus, I still have the variations of kind of a bluesy grit. And just the Monoprice on its own, that was the SD1. But I actually like that really nice long wash that delay has. But it can be shortened up too if you want more of a slap back or a shorter repeat time. What I'm going to do is take the echo knob, which is the mix, and get an even shorter repeat. Turn the feedback a little bit. Which is a really nice edge type sound. Now I'm going to turn it back to kind of a normal setting. This pedal board I feel like would be a little more ideal if you already like the sound of what you have. Maybe this is for a live rig. Again, this is a versatile setup. Having dual overdrives, you can get anything from blues, rock, even into metal territory. If you want more of a metal sound, I recommend swapping one of the overdrives for a distortion. I personally have a Danelectro Fab Tone. I don't necessarily recommend that, but there are a lot of other great pedals out there. The Boss DS1. And just do your research. The great thing that I've found is these micro pedal and newer pedal companies are selling great stuff that's super cheap, and often it's clones of stuff that's way more expensive, or it's original sounds that are just great. For my next rig, I'm going to go in a different direction and show some fuzz pedals. Now, fuzz pedals are not necessarily everyone's bag and taste. However, for me, I found that I wanted to break the cookie cutter generic mold of what people are doing these days. The gent scene is really big, the metalcore scene is really big, but I want tones that stand out and are unique to me. So I picked up some inexpensive pedals. For example, this Joyo Voodoo Octave. This pedal was $28 shipped, and I've seen it even cheaper than that. And what it's got is it's got a fuzz channel, and you can have just fuzz, or you can have octave fuzz, which is not unlike the Slash signature octave fuzz pedal that's out there. And it really sounds quite good. I'm going to throw this in, and we'll show you pedalboard number 3.
So for pedalboard number 3, I have added a fuzz pedal, the Joyo Voodoo Octave. They make a bunch of other great pedals in this line that are super affordable. I also will say the build quality on all these budget pedals is fantastic. I haven't had a single issue with switching or things not functioning correctly. Knobs feel solid, the enclosures are all aluminum or steel, and they come packaged in small boxes. It's really quite amazing what you can get on a budget. These 3 pedals together is only about $90.
Again, for pedalboard number 3, I'm starting out with the clean sound. I'm going to switch to the bridge pickup. And so I'm going to kick in the Monoprice Overdrive on its own so you can hear the level of drive it has right now. And now what I'm going to do is kick on my fuzz on top. This is going to make a pretty gnarly sound. Now again, that is both the Tube Screamer with the gain pretty cranked at about 6 and the Voodoo Octave with fuzz down about 2, tone about 3.5, and volume at about 5.5, 6. Now, what I personally like is kicking in the octave mode on this pedal with an overdrive already running. I'm not necessarily going for more gain, but I like this wild sound that it creates. Flick it to the neck pickup. For the Hendrix fans out there, often by playing above the 12th fret with his fuzz faces, you would get that same octave effect because of how much harmonic content it was bringing out. Now, I am going to show you one of my own, I'm going to show you the fuzz pedal on its own so you can hear what that sounds like. On its own, it sounds okay. It's not my first choice. It can be really cool if it's set properly, but I feel like a fuzz pedal really shines when it's going into a light overdrive or a slightly semi-dirty amp. However, this is the fuzz pedal on its own. This is just the regular fuzz setting. Now you can get some great stoner rock indie sounds. Have you ever heard the song by Blur, song number 2? Woohoo! That amp almost blowing up crazy distortion sound, a lot of that comes from fuzz pedals. And here's the octave sound. Now, what I'm going to do is show you something I came up with the other night. By adding the delay into that fuzz sound, which also is great for Pink Floyd type leads, I can make it a somewhat synth sound, and by doing a little tapping lick, I can sound like I'm playing a synth. So, to refresh, delay, overdrive, fuzz, all together. Which I think is super cool, but you can also play leads. But it's a unique sound, and that's what I love so much about this whole micro pedal and budget pedal setup, is that I can go out and buy something for 30 bucks and it inspires a bunch of playing and creativity. I was one of those guys who was using a lot of digital rigs because they were efficient, so when I went to a live show I only had to carry one piece of gear. And in recording I use a lot of software because it was much simpler to record through some software at home. All those options are great, but what I'm saying is you can get a lot of bang for your buck these days with these budget pedals, and by experimenting with the setup you can create your own signature sound and even catch yourself playing some things you wouldn't otherwise have thought of. So in summary, those were 3 budget pedal boards. I really like that delay pedal. You could easily throw in a chorus in place of an overdrive or the looper. You could throw in a different distortion pedal. You could throw in a more metal voiced pedal. There's tons of great options out there. Just do a little research, and like I said, there's tons of little companies out there making really quality products. So that being said, thanks for watching, and enjoy.